Okay, at 7 o'clock, let's call this meeting to order, please. Everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Coe,
Here.
Colosimo,
Present.
Cott,
Here.
Olszewski,
Here.
Raiders,
Here.
Lancaster,
Here.
Spears,
Present.
Teeling. Here. Quorum is established.
Do we have any amendments to tonight's agenda? Yes, sir.
I'd like to pull consent number 1, please.
Okay, any other amendments? All in favor of pulling number 1 off for consent, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we do have one presentation this evening, summer solstice presentation. Mr. Ingmanson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to present some ideas that we have. As you know, this will be our 4th year having a festival down on Yorkville. We started off with the Harvest Music Festival. Transferred that to a summer event. Summer Solstice Festival. Obviously, we've got 3 Angels Brewing, and we've got Road Barrister Records, so we've kind of partnered the two, the brewing and the music production, to an independent music and craft beer festival. We've had a lot of great success so far. We've got some great ideas for this upcoming summer. We wanted to kind of spend a few minutes to share those with you. The first thing you're going to see here is and I forward some of these links to Bart, and hopefully you can forward those to you guys. This Michael Siemens, a music geographer, he did a investigation in Omaha, Nebraska about how the burgeoning music scene in Omaha is really driving economic growth. And he focuses on a lot of the surrounding types of businesses that are drawn to a music scene. And Bart can forward to that full interview, and you can kind of take a look through that. But it's kind of part and parcel of what we're trying to do in Yorkville. Really drive the arts to Yorkville, which then in turn drive different entrepreneurs, graphic designers, programmers, people that are kind of flocked to that type of independent art scene. Now, next clip you're going to see is, if you recall, Nora Jones came down to Yorkville. She appeared. That was one of the events we did here. We had some major success with that event. Adriel Dene is a musician along with Corey Chisel. They worked together. This next clip was recorded, an interview that she did that night of the festival. And she has some poignant words to say about kind of what's happening here in Yorkville, what we're trying to build.
That are building places like this and hosting you basically. Something like this show is built from the ground up. There isn't, a promotion company that does concerts here at the river. These are a couple of our friends that, have a really good idea and want to build this part of their town up. They want to provide a musical component to their neighbors, and so to be a part of something that's being sort of built, by a community as opposed to being kind of plugged in into a system that's already running, it makes for a much more human experience, I guess. And the relationships that you're able to forge through it are so wonderful and hopefully lasting, I would want to go back and do this again. I'd want to go back to the farm in Iowa and play every week if I could. It's really wonderful.
Now, what's important is some of the things that we've been trying to do in the music industry. The music industry is very, very difficult to begin with. And the music industry is ever changing with the technology album sales are way down. And what we really believe in is that you can really create alternative markets for these independent musicians to come. And if you create that type of market for them, where they can come sell merchandise and build a new fan base, as you can see what Adriel says, it's different than being plugged into the Chicago music scene where they're just churning artists inside and out. And all those venues they're already set up, there's already promoters in place. But what we're trying to do here in Yorkville is really build a new market for these artists. And it's really an untapped market because you're not really seeing much of this done in the suburbs. And it's very, very important to kind of the development of what we're trying to do. And we've made such good inroads. I'm going to go through now and kind of just highlight a few of the artists that we've worked with. The first gentleman I'm going to show you here is Sturgill Simpson. This photo was taken up at Mile Music Festival, which I'll explain a little bit more about. Sturgill is a fellow we met down in Nashville as a country musician. He's already appeared on Letterman, Jimmy Fallon, Conan O'Brien. He was at our festival in 2012 at Summer Solstice. He was a headliner. He's touring with the Zac Brown Band. He's opened up for Willie Nelson in Austin on New Year's Eve. He's a guy that we're personal friends with, and we were the first people that really put him on a headlining position, put him up when he didn't have enough money to get from one town to the next when his van broke down. So these are the type of relationships we're building. And here's a clip of Sturgill performing at Summer Solstice. Now, Sturgill is another thing to mention about Sturgill. He's most likely going to be nominated for a Grammy this year. Good chance he might win it. I mean, his critical acclaim is kind of going off the charts. So he's one of those guys that he'll be remembering us and hopefully looking back to Yorkville, hopefully sometime soon. Next band we've got here is Fox. This was courtesy of Alderman Frieders. He helped put these guys on our first Summer Solstice back in 2012. They just recently appeared on Conan O'Brien's show just last week. They've been touring with the Head and Heart over the Midwest. Rolling Stone had them listed as one of the top 10 artists to see at South by Southwest Music Festival. Here's a clip of them at Summer Solstice 2012. That was right before Joel got on stage and said some eloquent words. But we're excited. Fox is, they're from Baraboo, Wisconsin, so they're Midwest folks, and we put them on a festival stage as well, so that's very, very important. Arc Life, here's a shot from them. They're good friends of ours from Denver, Colorado. This is them playing at Red Rocks Amphitheater out in Colorado. They've been to Yorkville 4 or 5 times now. They just released their most recent album. They were personal guests of Ringo Starr at the Grammys this past year. Jesse Elliott's been doing this for 8 to 10 years. Plays 150 to 180 shows a year all over the country. They are very, very, very firm believers in what we're trying to build here in Yorkville. And these people are all ambassadors when they're out there on the road. Because they're all touring, they're all trying to make it in the music industry. And what we've exhibited to them is a desire to take care of them when they're here, show them a place to stay, pay them a good wage, and then they're going to come back and remember us, and that's kind of what our motto is. So here's Jesse and their band performing at Summer Solstice as well. I noticed one thing about that. We've had some professional videographers come out and do all this footage. If you notice the courthouse in the back of that picture, how they focus in on that. Personally, one of my favorite shots of the festival is that, so I felt it was important to show you guys that. But Jesse, we just saw him in Chicago last week. They've been on tour. They will definitely be back. We've already discussed having them back for Summer Solstice this year. Next artist we've got here. Here we go. Nikki Lane, she was this past year. She just released her latest album. It was produced by Dan Auerbach of the Black Keys. She's been touring. She's opened up for Loretta Lynn at a show. Wanda Jackson, she was also listed by Rolling Stone as one of the top 10 artists to catch in 2014. We saw her up at the Mile Music Festival after she appeared in Yorkville. She's expressed desire. Anytime we want to have her come back to Yorkville, she'll be coming back as well. So here's Nikki performing at this year's festival. Now this guy here, he's really the guy that's kind of made all of this happen for us. I've known Corey for 4 or 5 years now, and he's the one that's really opened up doors for us that no one else could have really opened up other than Joel. But he's really introduced us to musicians and the Nashville music scene, and he's the one that's really been vouching for us when we've been booking some of these bands. And Corey, after working with us on our original Harvest Moon Festival, he decided to take the concept to his hometown in Appleton, Wisconsin. What he did up there is rather amazing. It's the Mile Music Festival, which he's done. He's a co-founder of in Appleton, Wisconsin. Now they have, I think, 75 to 80,000 people in Appleton. This event they did in 2013 was the first year. This year was the second year. Largest grossing economic weekend in the history of the town in terms of revenue by the local businesses. Now what they've done, which is what we're going to try to implement in Yorkville, is as you can see here, some photos. They had 2 outdoor stages, one in a city park, similar to what we'd be doing at the Riverfront stage, Riverfront Park. And they had another stage in like a town square. And all of this stuff is walking distance. As you can see in the upper right-hand photo, all up and down College Avenue. And we've never been to Appleton. Lawrence University's up there, and they have a mile-long stretch of bars and restaurants and pubs. And what Corey did is he really brought the music into all of those businesses. As you can see, the Mile venue, all these places up and down, and you just walk up and down, everything's free. And what they did is, here's a kind of a map that they put together. And they had a brochure and they had a map with all the list of bands and the times they play. They have all the venues listed in terms of there's going to be live music at all these. They've got a legend there. We envision something similar with downtown Yorkville with some of the businesses we intend to work with. And this next clip is a little a tidbit of interview that Corey gave the same night when Nora Jones was there.
Most small towns, like big small towns, like big shows in small towns.
It's all very small.
It's like half the towns here. I think it matters more here than in big cities. I don't know if I'm right, guys. Stand by.
Once again, obviously, Corey he's come back every year. He's going to continue to come back every year. He really believes in what we're doing here. Obviously, he's modeled what we're doing here and taken it to a whole nother level in Appleton. They had over 200 bands over 4 days up there. Obviously, that's a lot bigger of a community, can support more of that, but we can, if we discuss with him, we can implement that on a kind of a smaller scale here in Yorkville. So what we really envision is to really kind of work with the city. You hear the term public-private partnership thrown around a lot. What we really want to do is really explore that. As you can see, that getting all the downtown businesses, our goal really is to have 100% buy-in from the businesses downtown. We'd be taking the music that we're going to curate. We'll have music going on in downtown Riverfront. We'll have music going in Casa Santiago, music in Rowdy's. We've talked with Mike Mann and Rick Tollefson about having music if they get that amphitheater completed up on the other side of 47. So that's really kind of what we're trying to do, and it's really important. The city has been wonderful to work with the last few years. I mean, the Parks and Rec Department, Tim and Scott, their staff, they've really helped us do some of the things that it's very difficult for us to do in terms of setup, logistics. But the private enterprise side of it can put the money in, it can really put the promotion into it. And you really get those businesses to buy in. And it really generates economic activity. This is really what it's all about, is to really differentiate our community from any other communities around the area with drawing in an art component to it. We're talking about doing a pop-up art show in downtown Yorkville, where we get in one of Rick's buildings and we have an indoor art show where we have the art exhibited for Thursday through Sunday. We've got unbelievable artists, Jason Seiler we've worked with, who painted the Pope, the cover of Time magazine, who lives in Chicago, who's a client of ours. Those are the type of artists we can attract to it, even add a visual art component to what we're trying to do. But it's really important that we have the full support of the city and Bart, and we talk with staff and Chief Hart. Everyone's been so helpful, and that's why we're kind of here tonight, just to kind of talk to city councilmen and city councilwomen just about what our plans are and see how we can really build this together going forward. Some of the businesses that we've already contacted, we haven't contacted, but our goal is to Freeman's, they're 100% in. Rowdy's is 100% in. We've talked to Pat at Casa Santiago. We've talked to Dave Keist down at Bare Bones. We've talked to folks at the Kendall County Record, Cobblestone Barley Fork. Have Upper Crust do a food component of it. What we really want to do is just get all those businesses vested in drawing people downtown. And if we can co-opt all of our efforts into marketing and everything else, you get a lot more cohesive reach in what you're trying to do. And really, it makes this event kind of a cornerstone to downtown Yorkville. And then the business can feed off of that for all the other weekends down there. Now you can look at Ribs on the River. You can incorporate the businesses in that. And you've got Sense of Samadhi doing theirs. I mean, you've got the Knights of Columbus. You have the other city events, the Music Under the Stars. I mean, all of these things can kind of follow the same model that we're trying to do. And all it's going to mean is that you're going to be drawing people from outside the community to spend their dollars in Yorkville, which is what all the communities want. Now, what we've talked about with the city initially is we've met with Bart and some of the staff. There are grants available. We've researched the DCEO, the state of Illinois, that if you are a community outside of Cook County, there are marketing dollars for tourism that you can apply for in a grant with a 100% match with some city funds, and we've talked about potentially looking to see if TIP dollars might be available just for any amount of money that we can get a match from the state government to help us market what we're trying to do and help these other businesses market what we're trying to do. We've done what we've done so far with basically zero marketing dollars. I think we've bought an ad in the Kendall County Record for the last 2 events, and other than that, we haven't spent $1 on trying to reach the DuPage communities, the Chicago area. And that's really where we want to start hitting up the promotion of this and start hitting it up early. We're always trying to make all the beer and do all the planning, and we get down to it the 3 weeks before, and then we get all our material and we're trying to scramble to do what we want to do. Our goal is to have a lot of these decisions made for the first of the year, get all the businesses, all our partnerships, other sponsors that are involved, and then just execute and market for 6 months leading up to summer solstice. And we're only going to start drawing more and more interest from musicians, which means higher profile musicians. And if we continue to do this the right way and methodically not make any major missteps, this will grow. I mean, most music festivals take 4 to 5 years to start generating revenue. We've contributed, probably out of our pocket, $75,000 to $80,000 in investment into this without really any net return at all so far. But we haven't lost a lot of money, which allows us to keep continuing to do it, but these things really take some time to build. So that's what we're initially talking to the city about, and eventually would have to come to the board for a vote if we can work through staff and find out that some TIP dollars may be available to help us market this. And we can come back with a list of businesses in downtown Yorkville that are officially signed on as sponsors. We'd really ask the city to step up and help us make this happen and really help us put some dollars behind the marketing of this. Now, to leave you off on kind of a good note, I felt it was kind of important to drop in a Revolutionary War quote for all of you folks. Not to say that we're going to be seceding from the Union anytime soon, but the philosophy behind this quote is important. As Thomas Jefferson said, I mean, you can read it, regulated by any power on earth other than our own, or but our own. And the reason why that's important is, I mean, back then, obviously, you were talking about England and the new colonies. I mean, Atlantic Ocean separates the two, but now we're talking about Yorkville as opposed to Springfield and Washington, D.C. Everyone can see kind of how broken state and federal government is, but there are a lot of things that local government can do to control their own destiny. And I think over the course of time, I think local governments, county boards have kind of been a little bit more conservative in terms of thinking outside the box. But our position is, and I think that if you have responsible business owners, they're coming in, and they're going to do things the right way, the city can really do things. And we're not home rule yet. We probably will be home rule hopefully in the next 2-3 years. I mean, a lot more rooftops are going in, but with regulation and working with us on street closures and regulating alcohol sales, there are things that the city can do to really differentiate ourselves from the other communities. And given those tools, we can make things happen for this community. And it's really, we can't count on Springfield, or all they're going to do is take our money and we're not going to get it back. So we need to really be forthright in how can we generate a little economic center for ourselves. And that's really what this whole model is about, is really creating a type of art in the community, both music and visual art, videography, all types of artisanal art. And this could be a cornerstone of that. So we're excited about the planning going forward. Every year we've gotten a little bit better in terms of our refinement, in terms of what mistakes we've made and kind of trying to correct some of those mistakes. This was just obviously an informational presentation. We plan on coming back to City Council eventually, hopefully soon here, once we can investigate the possibility of maybe getting some state funds to help out as well. But I can answer any questions that anyone has about some of the ideas we have, or how this event's going to change from last year, or the expansion of it. Anyone has any questions?
Any questions from council?
I think the questions will come when we know what you're asking for.
Basically,
we all know the festival because most of us have probably seen
just
it.
to kind of, and I should touch on it a little bit. A couple of the ideas we've got. We're going to have the same type of festival set up down on the riverfront. Obviously, we're going to be taking a lot of the stuff into the existing businesses, which are kind of outside of your jurisdiction for the most part. If we do another outdoor stage, maybe at Rick's amphitheater up there, some of those things would probably be governed by Cobblestone's liquor license. So all that oversight would come through the city anyways. The one major thing that we kicked around as an idea, really to help this whole event out, is to, normally when you do alcohol sales, you're confining it to a certain area. If we've got things going on in downtown Yorkville all over the place, there's an idea to make a perimeter and allow people to have open alcohol from one venue to the next in a confined perimeter, like the east side and maybe even the west side, with a sign saying we don't want people crossing 47. But that in of itself, I mean, similar to what they used to do, they changed it this year in Corn Fest, but it used to be down in Morris. You could have a beer as long as in a plastic cup. You could walk out in the street, you could go up and down the area. And that's one of the things that the city can do that really allows us to be different from all the other communities. And as long as it's policed well, I mean, the people that we're attracting to these events are not, it's not an EDM festival, or it's not a hip hop festival, it's people 30 to 60 or above. And those people are typically the most responsible type of consumer, and that's a consumer we're really trying to attract anyways. And obviously, it's early stages of this, but that's probably one of the bigger changes we'd be looking at. Other than that, it's just mainly having the business owners just really accentuate their businesses down there and take ownership in terms of what they're going to be doing with their businesses over the course of that weekend.
Well, thank you, Boyd. I know the last couple of years, the festival's been great, and I really appreciate your efforts.
Well, thank you.
Okay, we do have a public hearing on the tax levy. So we will go into public hearing for the tax levy. Is there any public comment on the tax levy? Yes, sir.
Your Honor, from what was in the paper is not clear. It was not clear to me. I read it as a tax increase, and Mr. Colosimo corrected me. So I'd like to have this very transparent and try to get it dumbing down to our level and make it as clear as possible. But what is the net gain, loss, yield, whether taxes are going to go up, going to go down, because I walked Kendall 8, I walked part of Kendall 2 during this election, and there are a lot of people that are very angry with the taxes. And they're also looking at the water bill and this, well, we pay our property taxes, and then we get our water bill, and that's another property tax. And so nobody owns property. The city, the county, and the school own our homes. And if we don't pay our taxes, then they take them from us. So I'd like for the city to be very clear, if you would, sir.
Yeah, what was printed in the paper was an estimate of our tax levy, and just like the previous 3 years, taxes will be going down slightly in Yorkville. So, Art, do you want to just dummy it down a little?
Yeah, in general, between the city line item and the library line item on your property tax bill for next year, we expect the total of those to go down 1%. That's going to be reflected through a 2% decrease in the city's levy and then 1.61% increase in the library. Those are all estimated numbers. In order to get to those figures, we always ask for more than we can get. That's why the tax levy notice states percentages that are higher than what we expect to get. And then also, the city's levy is made up of two components. One is our property tax levy under our tax cap, which is what we're doing the hearing on now. And then the second component is our non-abated property taxes related to bonds and past debt. And so we pass the tax levy, and whatever that dollar amount comes at under the property tax cap, we always offset that in a later month with decreasing the non-abated property taxes. So this is the first step out of a two-step process to come up with that city property tax. And so whatever this one comes up at, whether it's a 2% decrease or a flat or a 1% increase, we're going to offset that by decreasing our non-abated property taxes at a later date. So, but in general, 2% decrease is what we expect to actually get the city's property tax.
That makes sense, Jesse?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other public comment? Oh, did I see a hand over there?
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
Well, she's not really public.
right, I
Go
agree.
ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to make sure that I am understanding it correctly from the prior years. Is part of this is any new buildings or any new construction projects that went up, that we try to capture those taxes?
Yes, in general, the strategy is to always ask for the maximum or greater on your capped property taxes, so that you can have maximum flexibility.
Because otherwise, we will lose that
Correct.
indefinitely.
Yes.
So we have to do that.
Yeah. And so then we make up whatever that increase is in what's uncapped. So
Right. I
that's
just
what
want to make sure that, that was clear too.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Yes, sir.
Well, I just wanted to give a simple example that, and Bart, tell me if I'm wrong, but when we set our percentage, our value that we're actually going to tax at, one of the goals that we've had as a city and we've accomplished is we're also increasing in the amount of taxable property that's within the city. So when you see that big number, if that number goes up, doesn't necessarily mean that the taxes went up. It just means that we have more properties in which to tax. So if you, for example, you have 10 houses and you tax them each $1, that year you get $10. The next year you can keep the tax rate exactly the same, but if you have 12 houses, you now have $12. And people can say, well, you raised, it went up 20%. It didn't go up 20%. We kept the exact same tax. So now we have more homes in the city in which we're deriving, in essence, what we're assessing.
Yep.
So that's why I think there's some of the confusion sometimes. They see that big number go up, and they think, well, the taxes have gone up. When in essence, we've actually are improving economically, and we have more businesses and more homes and more things that are actually paying into the pool. So I think the key is looking at the actual rate that we're going to assess and the final number. Like I explained, when you look at your tax bill, you're going to see that negative percentage.
Minor clarification.
Yes,
It's
please.
the most frequently switched. we don't actually set the tax rate itself, we set the tax amount. So
The
you
rate set by the
set
state,
it, but
right.
that's, yeah, it should be
Yes.
the tax amount.
Okay, anything else? If not, we'll close public hearing. Do we have any citizen comments on items that are on the agenda this evening? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Closman,
Aye.
Hilshewski,
Aye.
Spears,
Aye.
Readers,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Coe,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Cut.
Aye.
A motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting of October 14th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Comments, questions, corrections on the minutes? All those in favor of approving minutes as presented, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to mayor's report. I will entertain a motion to approve a resolution of the United City of Yorkville, Kendall County, Illinois, approving a license agreement for use of the United City of Yorkville's lift station for storage of stone, 1975 North Bridge, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
Comments or questions on this?
So to simplify, we keep them a parking lot to put stone on, and then they pay the floor so it's out of the way.
Correct.
It's a gravel parking lot currently.
Yep. Yes.
I had just been emailing back and forth with Bart about this today for some clarification points. Part of it was the location of the silt and some of the impacts to the site. I know the agreement talks about replacing the turf and replacing the parking lot. There's some, based on the graphic, there's some trees that potentially could be damaged, even if they hold it back a little bit, if they move the silt fence inside. Those are evergreens. The compaction rate would, the pile could damage those. I'd either like a surety on those trees or have that included where they are replacing job. If they want more space to use on the site, I have no problem with them taking the trees down. I just want to make sure that that's replaced. And then a question for Eric. Do you know how close you would like them to be from that building? From that?
Yeah, we did give it footage. We actually went out there with our backer. Said we need to get this in there.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we're clear on what the diagram doesn't have.
Semis in and out of there, so they're going to leave us good space because they have to turn semis in and around.
Okay. Are you, for them to maximize the site, do you have any issues with them taking the trees down and using all the way up to the property line?
No,
Is that more what they would prefer?
They are well aware they're going to try to save as much as possible, come inside to the east of that far west row of maple trees. So they were planning on putting it to the east of there so they don't damage those, and any trees would be replaced in kind.
Okay, so can we put that into our agreement that, and to be honest, I would like this pile could be there through the term of the contract, or the term of the project.
Right.
And then after that, we can run this monthly, but I want to make sure that we have some type of surety on those, that if there are problems with them based on compaction, if they die within a year, that they're replaced. Is that?
Yeah, they've verbally committed to replacing them. I'm sure that they would agree to it in writing if we had this provisions.
I just want to make sure that material's there. I don't want us to have any problems with that. And then everything that they have for the pavement, they're good with our city standards. They're going to make it.
That is city standard for a parking lot.
Okay, 1.5 and 1.5.
3 inches. Yep.
Okay.
And Jim, I'll defer to you as to how we incorporate that into the agreement.
We can
That's
add
the plan,
language, that
council.
basically any damage to the property, they would have to be responsible for. I mean, I think they would be responsible anyway, so we'll make it real clear in the agreement. We'll just add a clause.
You need a motion to amend or anything, or?
I've taken direction, I'll just amend it. Just approve it as amended. I don't have the exact language, we'll work it out tomorrow.
Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Hilshewski,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Coe,
Aye.
Cut,
Aye.
Readers,
Aye.
Spears,
Aye.
Okay, under Public Works Committee report, PW 2014-76 was pulled from consent agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving easement agreement over the city's property located at 106 East Main Street, Yorkville, Illinois, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
And Chris, you pulled this one?
The only reason I pulled this is, it's just one of these, it's procedural. I know this is a piece that was left out of the original motion. The reason it was on consent was the prior approval was on consent. This is being done, we're just making a correction to what we had already approved. And I just want to make it clear that nothing's being slid through, that this is procedurally, it went to consent for the fact that the prior was on consent. I just didn't want to, since there was nothing that was in any committee or anything bring it forward, I just want to make sure it was very clear that this is a simple amendment to what was already done. Just for the procedural process on this one. I don't have any issues with it.
Okay, anyone else? Roll call then.
Spears,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Funkasser,
Aye.
Machuski,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Coe,
Aye.
Cott,
Aye.
Fritters.
Aye.
Okay, no other committee reports. We do have an item from the Park Board, so I'll entertain a motion to approve a resolution of the United City of Yorkville, Kendall County, Illinois, approving a settlement agreement by and between the United City of Yorkville, Kendall County, Illinois, and Specialty Expeditions, Inc., doing business as Geneva Kayak Center, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions on this one? Yes, sir.
Just curious, did they give a reason why they're terminating contract?
They're going out of business. So that was just it. I mean, it hasn't worked well for him here, and with the winter now coming upon us, he has no way of sustaining the business as is.
Yes.
I just had a question about the taxes, their 2014 taxes, they're due in 2015. Did we make, because we did that agreement where it's a license agreement, did that change theirs too, or no?
It did for the 2016 tax.
2016. Okay, just curious.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Machuski,
Aye.
Teeling, Coe,
Aye.
Cott,
Aye.
Fritters,
Aye.
Spears,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Funkasser.
Aye.
Okay, nothing from Plan Commissioner, ZBA, no City Council report, City Clerk report, any community and liaison reports? Any staff reports?
No reports?
Additional business? No executive session. Do we have any citizen comments about any items that may be on your mind? Hearing none, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.